He's retarded.
Also,
right,
I like
and
how Josh is still eating.
we
I'm
are
hungry. I'm fucking hungry.
You're hungry? You're hungry?
keep
You
it
literally
down.
just ate. You said you were gonna throw up on camera. What do you mean
sat
you're
down and
hungry?
said you're gonna vomit.
These are chips. These are chips. They're nothing. They're just little snacks like pitas.
And we are live. What is up, everybody? And welcome to episode 11 of the Hot Stove Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Nunez, and I'm here with the entire crew this time. Introduce yourselves.
Austin. Hey, bro, that's not cap.
A second. And Josh.
Shave that.
My name is Mark.
The special guest is here, Connor Fernberg.
And
I
from the,
completely forgot he was here.
I'm back.
and from the inenviable Black Void, Connor Fernberg, who's currently rearranging his ammunition on his desk.
Not true. It's an unfounded claim. Okay.
That's fake news. All right. So a little bit of housekeeping first. You know, if you didn't have the background on, we would have been able to see that. But
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why it's an unfounded claim. You don't know what I'm waving around.
Maybe
all
it's
right.
dark.
So a little housekeeping first. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at HotStoveWMYO. And also make sure to like and subscribe below.
Hit that fucking bell.
Hit the bell. Make sure to leave a comment if you're feeling like commenting. All that fun stuff. We're gonna have, now that the semester is over, we might have a little bit more time to make some fire extra content for you. We were just talking about our plans for our next. It might be after dark. It might be a mini episode, depending on the length of it.
Hey, isn't
But-
the next After Dark going to be the basketball topic we talked about?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. We can figure out a time to record that. I don't really care.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my semester is done next Thursday. So
Yeah, same.
after that, I don't do anything. So I will be available at all times of all days. But so we'll talk about that. We got some fire content, coming soon for you. In the meantime, this episode's going to be a little bit scattered. We have one major topic for the day, and we'll get to that after we do a little bit of a recap on the last 2 weeks of our FanDuel standings. We took last week off because of the holiday, and now we are back. So I'll give you an update on the last 2 weeks of FanDuel, weeks 11 and 12. So week 11, we'll bring it back here. Let's see here. In week 11, Josh picked up his first victory of the year, 132.9 points. Austin finished in second, 132.46 points. It was a close one. I finished in third, 106.24 points, and Mark finished in last place.
Mm.
His
Thank
first
you.
last place finish of the year.
Thank you. What was it?
93.8 points. So that was
I
weak.
was going to say, what, I have 38 points?
93.8 points, and because he started Jameis Winston and didn't take him out after they announced.
I'm telling you, my FanDuel was messing up. I kept trying to take him out, and it was like, it said like move invalid or something
Did
like
it
that.
mess up again when you started DeAndre Swift in week 12?
No, I forgot he was out.
So this is a common theme here. Now we're going to get to week 12 of the NFL season. And Mark, even though I can't actually look at it. My phone is being mean to me. So, see,
Oh,
that's
well,
up. Someone want to go pull it up?
yeah.
What? This past week's?
This current, it's still technically going on, but none of the players in the game tomorrow. So,
Yeah, I got it right here.
okay.
I'll pull it up.
So worst to first, baby, 135 points thanks to a million by Tyreek Hill for me.
On the backs of the New York Giants faithful. In
Yeah.
Wayne Gallman and Evan Ingram.
Yep. And hey, they both
That's true.
performed. Austin finished in second with 118.68 points. Josh finished in third at 117.5, and bringing up the rear, Zachary Bartholomew Nunez.
Is that your first last played?
First
No,
last
that's my
place?
third last place of the season.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, you're welcome. I wasn't gonna let that go unnoticed.
Thank you.
So yeah, so we won't have our FanDuel lineups for this week. We will go over the lineups themselves and discuss them on next week's show. As many of you may know right now, this episode is going to come out on Wednesday. So later today is the final game of Week 13. We've had some not great COVID issues in the NFL, coinciding with the awful turn that our country is currently making. So that Steelers-Ravens game is now being played Wednesday afternoon, and Week 13 will run Sunday through Tuesday this week. So we will have a lineup, and we will be discussing it on next week's show. At the end of the episode this time around, I'm still going to do a FanDuel segment. I'm going to go about my main slate lineup for this Sunday. I already have that set. My Millie Maker lineup, the lineup that's going to win me $1 million. One of these days I'm doing it. All right. One of these days I'm going to win the Millie Maker. Maybe it's this week. Anyways, a little bit of an update on the FanDuel standings themselves. Austin is in first place with 31 points after week 12. Mark is in second place with 26 points. I'm in third place with 24 points, and Josh is in last with 19 points. So
it's a lot closer than it was.
that's true. Josh has made up
much
ground
closer.
after consecutive first and third finishes, as opposed to his 5 last place finishes that he has this season. So we will update you on those again next week. But in the meantime, does anybody have anything that stuck out to them from week 12 of the NFL season?
The Raiders.
Oh,
that was oof.
One of the worst games ever seen on television by one football team.
Yeah, it was certainly not great. And I don't know as if it actually matters all that much. Like sometimes teams just get clapped out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes, I mean, you saw this before with fans when West Coast teams went east and they just were like really bad. I mean, it just happens.
Yeah, sometimes one team shows up to play that you don't expect. That's basically what happened. The Atlanta defense showed up to play this past Sunday and walloped the Raiders. I believe it was 43-6 was the final score. We could talk about how the Chiefs are peaking at the right time. The Chiefs are currently making their peak.
does Pat Mahomes lead the league in passing yards?
I believe he does now.
So if that's true, he's number 1 in passing yards with both of the top 2 leaders in receiving yards.
2 and 3. DK Metcalf took over first last night.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Screw him.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes is first in passing yards with 3,500 through 11 games.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's got 3,500 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions.
Correct.
Is that MVP worthy or
Absolutely.
what do you think?
Yeah.
Yes, Pat. Yes.
Okay, it was a joke. He's my MVP.
Him and Rodgers are starting to really heat up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
they basically whittled down the race to 2 guys.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a fun storyline from this week is the lack of self-pride. 2 teams who get the honor and privilege of getting to play every Thanksgiving. Something that should mean something. No. I'm as much as this is a troll.
No, I get it. I know exactly what you're going to
chosen.
I agree.
2 teams. You're lucky enough to play on a team that gets chosen to play every goddamn year on the holiday that everyone gets around to watch football. It's probably the second most football day watched in America. And you choose to stink it up that bad. Both of them, respectively. The Lions played like dog dookie, and the Cowboys played fine for a half and then pitiful in a fourth quarter. That was so disgustingly bad to watch, I wanted to vomit.
Yeah, I mean, the
Cowboys that bad.
The Cowboys, the game was like at least interesting for the first 3 quarters, and then they literally just laid over and died in the fourth quarter.
I'll tell you, Joe Buck should be shot. And I'm sorry for saying that on air, but I'm serious. He should be shot. He said, as the bell was closing on that game, he goes, yeah, Troy, this one really didn't seem close for much of the day. It's a 4-point game with 12 minutes left to go in the fourth. 4 points. And Dallas had the ball. What are you talking about? Minus a 4th and 10 fake punt that went astray that caused everything to go to hell on their own 20.
I mean, that might have been the worst fake punt call I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it was, considering only first to the one he did earlier in the year at the same spot. Like this guy,
Honestly,
I swear to you, go Austin.
it didn't make sense either because it was one thing at the beginning of the season when the defense was abysmal. It had been playing well today.
Yeah, I mean, he just had zero faith in the team. I think he thought because they were stalling, he was like, "We're gonna need something. Jump start something. This is gonna be huge," and it was terrible. Like I swear they just were like, "Hey, you wanna come to Dallas and screw around for a couple years, Mike? Really, just get back into it," because it feels like he's fucking trolling. I feel like I'm being trolled as a Cowboys fan watching these games sometimes. Like, what are you doing? That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
You could say the same thing about Doug Peterson last night, but we won't get into that. But yeah, no, the other Thanksgiving game was not as close as the 30-point win that the Texans had with Lead You to Believe. The Lions got lit up, and it was not. The Lions were never in contention after.
I think at one point, I had speculated that this might be the worst football game I've ever watched.
You did.
I mean,
I heard about it.
On every play, you were like, "Oh, this is a turnover." I don't even have to watch the play; someone's turning it over.
It was the consecutive the 3 straight turnovers on 3 straight drives by Detroit, sandwiched around Houston turnover, right?
And then Houston taking a 15-yard sack and then getting a delay game, and it's like 2nd and 30, and then they just throw a touchdown.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, how can you be this bad? Like,
yeah. I'm glad Matt Patricia got fired. I think we talked about it last week, a couple weeks ago, maybe something like that. But
I'll tell you what's really tough.
We could get Adam Gase the same treatment.
That's true. You'd love that. I feel bad for the Lions, though. With no Jeff Okudah, and their backups had to guard a guy who was just physically enhanced. How could they be asked to do such a thing?
No, we can't.
I was gonna say shout out to Will Fuller for finally being healthy and doing it by taking steroids and getting suspended for the rest of the year.
Can't jump to those conclusions. We don't know what he was taking.
I loved Ian.
The NFL has a lot of dumb rules on what you can't take.
That's true. I did find it amusing when Ian Rappaport tweeted that he's having a career year after also popping for a performance-enhancing drug, regardless of what it is, but to point out that he's having a career year after getting suspended for possibly I
don't think the career year part of it had anything to do with what he was saying. It had more so to do with the fact that he didn't miss any games.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
But anyways, that was bad. What were the other things that Austin, what were the other things that you put in the chat earlier?
I mean, we kind of touched on the Chiefs, just peaking at the right time, but I thought that game was that was the biggest blowout close game of the day, right? I mean, would the Chiefs win by 3?
Yeah,
yes and no, because Kansas City just kind of stalled out in the middle of the game.
Yeah, they did.
So I think
they got into the red zone and then they fumbled once, they kicked 2 field goals.
It wasn't quite as close as the 3-point margin would lead you to believe, but also it was certainly not a blowout that just ended up being close. Tampa Bay actually got themselves back into that game.
Yeah. But it's just when you give up 261 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns to one guy, it kind of feels like you're down 50.
I mean, Pat Mahomes would have actually, at the very least, challenged for the single game passing record had he not just missed Mecole Hardman.
Yeah.
He had Mecole Hardman with 20 yards of separation, and that's not over-exaggeration.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And for what would have been a 76-yard touchdown, and he just missed them. So had he hit that, I mean, he would have gone well over 520 or something like that.
Yeah.
It would have been insanity.
I think it's probably important to touch on Kendall Hinton and his performance.
I got all the respect in the world for that kid.
So do
and
I.
nothing bad to say.
Oh, yeah. Great. All sorts of respect. Good on you for trying to throw the ball 9 times.
Now, 10 for 17, 91 yards and 3 picks. That was the combined stats in that game.
I'm not going to say that I don't think there was a legitimate quarterback on the field on Sunday. I'm glad that Taysom Hill played like that so we can remind the world that he fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Right? I'm out on the Taysom Hill bit. I can't wait for Drew Brees to come back so the Saints can go back to being an actual football team. I know they've won the last 2 weeks, but
There is another quarterback on that roster.
Yeah, another quarterback that they signed this offseason, particularly to be the backup to the one that got injured.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, we won't get into the fact that you want to talk about a troll. Speaking of Mike McCarthy, you want to talk about goddamn troll. Sean Payton coaches in the NFL. I thought he was smarter than this. This dude is a damn fool. You don't sign James Winston.
But
for
Zach,
what?
do you want the guy who can run or the guy who threw 5,000 yards and 33 touchdowns?
I want to know what the point of signing Jameis was then.
Oh yeah, I'm a little confused by that as well.
I don't understand
Playing
it.
keep away or
Right, you're already paying Taysom Hill $10 million a year to do nothing.
Yeah.
His salary is a whole nother rabbit hole that I don't want to dive down.
I wonder if he just realized that like their defense has been playing so well that he's like, I'd rather a guy who just sits on the ball the whole game than Jameis.
I don't know. I really
That's the
don't
only
know.
thing I can really think of.
But yeah, no, there wasn't an actual quarterback on the field on Sunday. One of them was because of the selfishness of an entire quarterback room. The other one was because Sean Payton's a troll. So that game was not worth watching. I hope nobody watched that game on Sunday. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to.
What, John?
I don't know how to feel about the Denver quarterback situation, all the complaining in Denver going on, because like on the one, like to call them selfish is like I guess, but also they were just trying to watch film. Like
They weren't, but you follow protocol while you're watching film. They just
Exactly.
deliberately weren't following protocol.
yeah, I guess, yeah, I get it.
That's as simple. You can watch film while wearing a mask. It's pretty simple, actually.
True.
That's it.
I just think the close contact of it's stupid. To that extent, I mean, they tested negative and it was fine. In my mind, I get it.
There's an incubation period of about 3 days on the virus. So, like, he tests positive on Thursday. They could test negative. They don't test on game days. So you could test negative Saturday and have COVID and just go play with COVID on Sunday. Like, that's a possibility.
Yep.
So, anywho, we'll get into the next topic here. Our main topic of the day. When was it announced, Mark? The ballot?
The ballot was announced a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
But it's my favorite time of the year, and I don't mean Christmas. I mean Baseball Hall of Fame time. It's Hall of Fame season for me.
It's my least favorite time of the year because I hate the Baseball Writers Association of America.
I also don't like the BBWAA, but I really like talking about the debates between if someone is a Hall of Famer or not. I thrive in those debates.
Okay.
So yeah.
We each put together our ballots, maximum of 10 players. Let's just say that this year was kind of a weak ballot year, right? Would you say that, Mark?
Yeah, compared because we've had multiple inductees each of the past 6 years. And we're talking like all-timers. We're not just talking like fringe guys. We're talking Pedro Martinez, Greg Maddux, Frank Thomas, like first ballot inner circle guys.
Is it uncommon to have multiple inductees?
It's uncommon-ish. Like usually you don't see more than 2. And we've had 4 and 4 and 3 and 3. Like it's just been more people per year getting in because, like I said, we've had guys like Derek Jeter and Greg Maddux, just these inner circle guys the past few years just coming onto the ballot.
Yeah. Okay. So each of us put together a ballot, and we're gonna go over our ballots. We're gonna talk about them. We're gonna have Mark lead the discussion, and we'll kind of we'll go through his ballot, and if anybody else has that player on their ballot, they can chime in. And if we don't, we can talk about why we don't. But first, before we start, Mark, I want to ask you a couple questions here about the ballot, so we can kind of get our bearings here. What do you think are what do you think? What are kind of like the benchmark stats that you normally see in terms of like a Hall of Fame? Like how many home runs, how many RBI, what's the career ERA look like, that kind of stuff?
So this has changed a lot because it used to be, did you hit 290? Did you hit 350 home runs? And did you drive in 1,200 runs? Now it's, what was your on base? What was your OPS? What was your OPS plus? So there's a lot of things that go into it. There are still a few for me that I look at for pitchers and hitters. I look at for hitters, I look at your slash line, average on base slugging that equates to OPS. I look at your hits total, your home run total, your RBI total, stolen bases if they apply. I don't care if a guy's got 100 stolen bases, but if a guy's got 400 stolen bases, that's quite a bit. I look at your walk rate, like how often per year you walk, and I look at extra base hits. So outside of home runs, doubles and triples. I'm a big doubles guy. I think guys who hit a ton of doubles are underrepresented in the Hall of Fame because those guys also add a lot of value. For pitchers, I still look at win-loss, but not as much as a lot of boomers do.
Yeah,
It's
because
just-
wins aren't a good stat.
No, but if you're under 500, you're not going to get my vote. Like that sort of thing.
I get it.
Like, I look at ERA, I look at WHIP, I look at strikeouts per 9, strikeout to walk ratio. Strikeout to walk is a big one for me. I think that's one of the most important, like somewhat basic still stats for pitchers. And I look at for both, how were you in awards? How many MVP top 5 finishes do you have, or top 10s? How many All-Star games? How many Gold Gloves? How many Silver Sluggers? All those combined with some of the advanced metrics like WAR, JAWS, Peak 7 WAR for defense, UZR, total zone runs, defensive runs saved. Like, so there's quite a few advanced stats that I look at, mostly starting with WAR and like variations of WAR.
Yeah, I also look at JAWS and WAR specifically myself, right? And I think for one of the guys I have on here, I look specifically at their defensive WAR. Like if you want to be like
I've got a couple of mentions of defensive WAR in here, so
specific as well. So I mean, it's kind of a fluid situation. It's definitely changing more as we go on, as more of the boomer writers are getting out of the game. So you don't have to like win 700 games to get in as a pitcher.
It's you don't have to be the 350 game winner anymore. You can win 220 games. Like Roy Halladay won around that many games. It was like 210 to 220.
Yeah,
and he was a first ballot guy because people were like, this guy was one of the best pitchers of a generation. So
yeah, and you know who's not going to have that win total? Jacob deGrom.
No, Jacob deGrom's going to finish with 130 wins and a 2.1 ERA in his
and none of it's going to be
amazing.
Fault. And none of it's going to be his fault.
None of it.
So, Mark, let's start. So we'll go down with your ballot first. Who's first on your ballot this year?
So I had 8 guys that I was for sure these are on my ballot. And
okay, actually, before we start, how many did each of us have on our ballot? I have 6.
Josh, how about you? You're muted.
Let me count it up. Sorry, one second.
I mean, it's tough, I mean, I'm still teetering back and forth,
You're still on 1 or 2.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm
also, you're
5
quiet right now, by the way.
5 minimum.
Say I'm
6
quiet?
possible.
All right, you're not quiet anymore.
6 max.
Sorry.
So I'm sort of in the same realm as Josh. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to add one more.
Yeah, I got 5 for sure.
But I started out with 8 guys, and then I had 4 more that I looked at, and then I sort of tried to whittle it down to 2 spots after that. But the 8 I started with were Curt Schilling.
Wait. Let's just go one by one. All right.
Oh, one by one. So
yeah.
I started with Curt Schilling.
Sure. Start with Curt Schilling. Make your case.
Curt Schilling has the best strikeout to walk ratio in the history of starting pitchers, with a minimum of, I believe, 10,000 innings or something like that. So, like, over the course of a full career, Curt Schilling is the best strikeout to walk ratio. I get it. He's a fuckhead. I understand that. But he also struck out 3,100 guys. He pitched in the American League East and the National League East during the steroid era and pitched to a very high level. He finished runner-up in Cy Young voting 4 times, 3 of which was when he was on the same team as Randy Johnson, who won 4 straight Cy Youngs for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He was runner-up to him in the same rotation 3 years in a row. It's just everything about him, me screams Hall of Famer. He's got season success. He's got the moments. I get it. I'm a Reds fan bringing up the bloody sock. I don't care. It like you have to have certain like outside things from just the numbers. You got to have the postseason success. You got to have the moments. He's got all of it to me.
Okay, well, I originally didn't have Curt Schilling on my ballot. Not for any particular reason, honestly. Like if that case is perfectly fine, and if you want to say that he's on your ballot, go for it. I normally here's the thing, right? Like I can't, in good conscience, say that I don't care. I don't think that steroids should keep a guy out of the Hall of Fame, and then say I don't think that being an asshole should keep you out of the Hall of Fame. Like I can't actually say that. So, he's clearly, in terms of raw numbers, one of the best pitchers of all time. It's not even particularly debatable, like
yeah, there it is.
Wait.
There it is.
Connor's not even here. That's not even debatable. That's a throwback reference right there.
So you still don't have him on your ballot?
I just put him on, so I have 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Pretty quick, convinced job there by me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I think it's also important to talk about criteria, right? So like for myself, since I'm not as much of like a knowledgeable baseball fan, I go mostly by numbers and where it compares to people and whatnot. But for example, when I've made my NFL Hall of Fame ballots in the past, I always talk about, and it's the case I make for Eli Manning being in the Hall of Fame. I always talk about how there's a few different things that can get you in the Hall of Fame, right? It's either sustained greatness, like someone like Frank Gore, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's 3rd in rushing yards. He's never really been the best running back in football, but 3rd all time in rushing yards. He's been doing it for 20 seasons at this point. Like that man is a no doubt first ballot Hall of Famer. If you want to use more of a fringe example, I think there's an outside argument to be made for someone like a Matt Forte to make it in the Hall of Fame, right? Like he set the single season receptions record by a running back, had consistency, was consistently like a top 10 running back for more than a decade in the NFL. I think that's something that can get you it. I think
like
you're
LeBron James, like
yeah, like LeBron James,
like the longevity.
These Kareem Abdul-Jabbar types, you know.
I think your peaks can get you in, right? Like that's why I've made the argument that if Pat Mahomes retired today, he'd be a Hall of Famer, no question in my mind, because he's already had the greatest season ever put together by a quarterback, a Super Bowl, and a Super Bowl MVP, and an MVP. Like that's it.
He's done
the greatest season ever played by a quarterback in the NFL. That's it, right? Like that's, and there's other examples, right? Like a Barry Sanders, who for one reason or another, their career wasn't as long as other people, but Barry Sanders is a top 5 running back all time. Calvin Johnson is a top 5 receiver all time in my book.
I'm sensing a theme.
Lions. But his career wasn't very long. A guy that I have on my NFL ballot this year, Tony Baselli, who was probably the best offensive tackle in football, but he only played 5 seasons because of injuries. So, and then also the third thing is what I call the Eli Manning defense, is that if you are within reason, right? Like I don't think, for example, I don't think David Tyree should be in the Hall of Fame just because of the catch that he made, right? But like within reason, if your career is instrumental to telling the story of the sport, I think that that's worthy of being in the Hall of Fame. You can't tell the story of football without the Patriots dynasty, and you can't tell the story of the Patriots dynasty without Eli Manning.
I'm losing twice to Eli Manning.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't tell the history of football without the Manning family, without Eli Manning, That's my argument for Eli Manning to be in the Hall of Fame. So I think there's a few different things, for me at least, like if I had a vote, a few different things that would get me to vote for you.
I look at all those things for baseball as well. Obviously baseball is a longer, more storied sport. Like it's been around longer than professional football and is more storied than professional football in a lot of aspects. So it's a little harder to find guys who it's like, you can't tell the story of baseball without this guy. But I do like to look at that. Josh, thoughts on Kurt Schilling?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I looked up the thing that Nunez sent us, and I've just been looking at stats here. Put him in the hall. I just,
all right, cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing. I got no ifs, ands. He's sick, dude. He played with a bloody ankle. Let's go for it. Put him in the hall.
So there are no objections to Kurt Schilling.
Well,
on his bloody sock hung in the hall.
Here's the thing. The major debate why my number couldn't be shared very easily is because it could easily go from 8 to 1, right? And I think we all know why it could do that. So I don't know, but I'm in on Kurt Schilling as well. I don't know. He has kind of the longevity and the peak there for me.
Oh yeah, I mean, certain players are just exceptions to where they should be in because they're in the GOAT conversation, and Kurt Schilling is one of those, right? Like in terms of just on-field prowess, Kurt Schilling is at the table, as we've talked about.
I'm not sure if like it really should have any weight in my mind, but for some reason, like just iconic names. Like when I think of baseball in early 2000s, and I just always remembered the name Kurt Schilling. It was something that I always.
And he's one of those guys you can't tell the story of baseball without Kurt Schilling.
Well,
you cannot tell the story of baseball without that 2000. It's one of those things where it's like he's got that going for him too.
It's the Jeter defense, right? Like Jeter wasn't the best shortstop ever. He wasn't.
No, he's the worst defensive shortstop in the history of baseball.
Exactly. I don't think. Would you say that there was any given point during Jeter's career where he was the best shortstop in baseball?
No.
But
I'd say there were multiple points during his career he wasn't the best shortstop in the division.
Wow.
He also wasn't the best shortstop on his team, but that's beside the point.
But could you tell the story of the Yankees or baseball without Derek Jeter?
Derek Jeter is a for sure first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm not denying that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. That was
say it again, Red Sox fan.
Is he the most overrated player in baseball history? Possibly.
Here.
Okay.
But that's my
guy.
point, right? Like that's the Derek Jeter defense. Like,
yeah,
he's an icon of American sports. You can't not have him in the Hall of Fame.
Connor, thoughts on Kurt Schilling?
I'm in.
All right, cool.
Ride or die. Let's go. Next
guy is the first of a certain group I have on my ballot this year, and that's Roger Clemens. I've had Clemens and Bonds on my ballot since they started, like since they got on the ballot and since I started keeping track every year. We'll get to some other guys who are now on my ballot that haven't been in the past, but Roger Clemens, he won 7 Cy Young Awards. He's got 4,600 strikeouts. He's the Rocket. He struck out 20 in a game for the first time. He's got 350 wins. His ERA is barely over 3. Put the man in the Hall of Fame. He's the best right-handed pitcher to ever step on a baseball field.
Look, and I'll say it right now in terms of when I talk about baseball, right? I have no objection to Roger Clemens at all. Like he's on my ballot easy, right? Mm-hmm. And that's because of the stance that I take on the steroid era. And I've said it on this show before, and I guess I'll reiterate now that we're having this conversation. But I personally, going back to the whole storytelling thing to relate it to baseball, I don't think that, it's not that I don't think, you objectively cannot tell the story of baseball without the steroid era, right? So, yeah. And even more so than that, you certainly can't assume that baseball is around and is around in the capacity it is today without the steroid era. So the Baseball Hall of Fame acting like the steroid era never happened is disingenuous. Is basically what it is.
It's gotten better.
Absolutely.
Pudge Rodriguez is in the Hall of Fame. He's one of those guys that he was a steroid guy. Jeff Bagwell was a steroid guy. Piazza was a steroid guy. So it's getting a lot better.
Absolutely.
It's just like there's like, and none of those guys were there. It was they were named in the Mitchell report. Fucking 3/4 of baseball was named in the Mitchell report.
Mitchell report means nothing.
Yeah.
Yours. Mitchell report.
I have a criteria where it's if you failed a test and got suspended, you will never see the light of day on my ballot. That's just the way Manny Ramirez will never get a vote from me. As much as I love Manny, he failed 2 tests. He served suspensions. That's where I'm like, okay.
So next year
it was a hard rule that you cannot do this.
So next year when A-Rod's on the ballot, Mark, you're not going to get your vote.
My vote.
Okay.
If you failed a test and served a suspension, I think that's where I draw the line.
What's it matter?
They didn't do that. They didn't do that until after the
he served his time. Well, anyway, then why should he have come back and kept playing? Either of those guys. Why should they play? Don't you play just for the accolades? Not to be that guy, but what are we talking about here? You play to be in the Hall. You play to be the best. If you can't ever reach that, why should he have come back? Why do we have punishments for people?
I don't think either of them should have. I don't think A-Rod should have came back at all.
That's yeah. Okay. Good.
Good
call.
He went.
Touche.
And people have done this complete 180 on A-Rod, which I'll never understand because people love him as a broadcaster now. He came back and was the most hated player in baseball.
Uh-huh.
No one liked him. And so I never understood why he came back. I don't understand why Manny tried to come back after a 100-game suspension. Like, at that point, stop. Robinson Cano, retire.
He's coming back.
Ryan Braun did it.
Yeah, and no one likes Ryan Braun anymore because he lied about it. And Ryan Braun was a hell of a player. And if he'd never tested positive for steroids, he would be on my Hall of Fame ballot when his time comes.
I'll tell you an unpopular opinion here, Mark. I'll take the. Well, you go, Mark. You go,
I think it's complicated too because like I don't think that you can take, and I don't know where Mark sits on this, but I don't think that you can take that stance and then turn around and say Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame because Pete Rose was a cheater.
No, he wasn't. He never bet on his own team. He never bet against his own team. There are records that show he never placed bets on the Reds. If he bet on the Reds, if he bet on the Reds or against the Reds,
would have made a lot of money.
If he gambled on his own team, I would say he doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
I have a question. Is Shoeless Joe Jackson in the Hall of Fame?
No.
No?
I think he should be because he hit like 500 in that World Series.
The World Series that was rigged?
Yeah.
Against him.
It was rigged against him. And
I know. Joe. All right. God.
Yeah, but
the falsified.
He was one of the few that did not take it, and I think he deserves to be recognized for that.
Anyways, I don't know. I tend to not care. that's my stance, right? Like I tend to not care really all.
I'm assuming we're all in agreement on Roger Clemens here.
Of course.
Awesome.
Austin, Josh.
I don't know. There's something about Roger Clemens that he kind of just looks like a scumbag,
He is a scumbag. He threw a bat at Mike Piazza for breaking his bat.
Like, he's one of those guys that, like, there's some guys that if they did steroids, and if there's some guy, and then there's Clemens where you're like, wow, like, I don't like that guy already, and now he's doing steroids. Like, I double don't like that guy. And then there's another guy you like, he does steroids, you go, well, I'll cut him some slack. Clemens
Jason Giambi, the last half of his career.
Yes. Clemens is on the bad side for me. I'm also pitcher biased, so I'd put him in.
Yeah,
that just didn't go the way I thought it was going to. You were like, yeah, he's on the bad side. I never really liked him. Yeah, he's in.
I don't know. He's also one of those iconic, like, I mean, he played for the two biggest teams in the sport.
Yeah.
I mean,
and the Astros.
Yeah, forget about
Unquestionably not one of the two biggest teams in the sport.
Yeah, he played for the Astros, and the Astros cheated, so I think he's off my list.
Oh, there you go.
I'll tell you, Mark. I put Roger Clemens on the list, and I'll tell you why. I don't give a crap about steroids, okay? You want to do steroids, get a little competitive advantage? Good for you. You get caught, you serve your time, you come back, maybe you do them again. If that's what you choose to do, good for you for trying. And honestly, keep dominating. You're going to see my list, and I love Reuters, okay? I love Reuters. I will have 6 on my list now. I just changed my mind.
I'm not as extreme as Josh is, but I tend to also have a similar opinion on steroids. Like I said, it doesn't particularly bother me. Anyways, let's move beyond Roger Clemens.
It's Barry Bonds.
Another steroid guy to Barry Bonds. And we've had the Barry Bonds conversation on this podcast a trillion times. I would assume
the man hit 762 home runs. That's
no question. Stop.
The first one that I think will be somewhat controversial on my ballot is Scott Rowland.
Oh, ex-Redleg.
Yeah, I loved Scott Rowland growing up. Career 281 hitter, 490 career slugging. Like, his offensive numbers don't jump out at you as Hall of Famer, but he's 10th all time for third baseman in WAR. He won 8 Gold Gloves. He is pretty commonly referred to as the best defensive third baseman since Brooks Robinson. He may have been surpassed by Nolan Arenado, but like, it's one of those things where
really good.
No, but he's in that conversation. He's just
I know.
This guy could be
Also,
the best defensive
Scott
third baseman.
Rowland won a Gold Glove in 3 different decades.
He did.
That's pretty incredible.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So he's one of those guys where the counting stats aren't great. He had 316 home runs. He had barely over 2,000 hits. But everything else he did, he was a good base runner. He didn't steal a lot of bases, but it's like Albert Pujols, where he would take the extra base, and you knew he was a good base runner when, like, by watching him run the bases. And I just think he's a pretty easy Hall of Fame third baseman for me.
He did not end up on my ballot. I don't have any objection to it. I didn't really have a particular reason. I didn't look at him and be like, no.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not someone that I put on my ballot.
That's fair. Josh?
I love me some Scott Rowland. He was only with him for a late year vet push, but I believe he was there in the storied playoff push that we had back in 09. I want to say maybe it was after
yeah,
that.
09, 2010, around there.
Yep. And love me some Scott Rowland. Like you said, just defensive, all around defensive minded third baseman. Love that. Love that out of the kid. And we'll rock it. Go old man.
Is
he
Scott
on your
Rowland
ballot
on
or
your
not?
ballot, Josh?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell you he is not on my ballot.
I knew he wasn't going to be on Austin's ballot.
Like that.
I just had a feeling that he wouldn't be a Scott Rowland guy. Just throwing that out there.
I mean,
Do you have any thoughts, Austin? Do you think
I don't
I'm
know,
wrong for putting him on my ballot? Or?
I don't need to go into a big rant about the Hall of Fame, but I'm an elitist. If it was up to me, like the smallest percent possible would make the Hall of Fame, and I wouldn't feel bad for it. So that's
I get
just why
that.
Scott Rowland wouldn't make it in.
So you're positing that Scott Rowland is a Hall of Very Good kind of guy.
Yes.
That makes sense.
I see that argument too. I don't have a problem with people who say Scott Rowland isn't a Hall of Famer. It's just like he's right on the borderline for a lot of people. And for me, it's just how good he was at third base and how much impact he was able to have on the game defensively sort of puts him over the top for me.
I think it's funny.
And he was a really good hitter.
It's funny you mentioned that, Austin, because I feel like the Baseball Hall of Fame is the most selective of the pro sports Hall of Fames. And I'm not quite, like I said, I'm not quite as liberal as the NBA Hall or the Basketball Hall of Fame. Where
Still can't believe Vlade Divac is in the Basketball Hall of
it's
Fame.
ridiculous, dude. If you sneeze on a basketball court, you make it to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I probably sit around where the Pro Football Hall of Fame is, where it's a pretty large collection of players, but also you have to be deserving to get in. They don't just let schmucks into the NFL Hall of Fame. That's just not how that works,
And they do occasionally mess up on the Baseball Hall of Fame. Jack Morris is a Hall of Famer, so is Harold Baines. I get it, but
Yeah,
the
everyone
writers
knows
actually
Harold
do a
Baines.
pretty good job.
Harold Baines is the
Come
one of those
on,
two that I've heard of.
Who let that old kook in there? Come on. Harold Baines. Who the fuck is Harold Baines?
Ooh, all right. Who's your next pick, Mark? We got to speed stuff
Another
along
one
here.
another one that you guys may not be huge on is Billy Wagner. I think Billy Wagner is in the conversation with Mariano Rivera for the best reliever of all time. Billy Wagner was really good. He had a 2.3 ERA. He struck 12 guys per 9 innings over the course of his career. Billy Wagner, in my opinion, was a first ballot guy that needs much more love on the ballot.
So here's the thing, right?
Yeah,
I'm a hypocrite because I didn't have him on my ballot this year. I had him on my ballot last year. I think I had him on my ballot last year because I'm upset at the fact there's only 3 relievers in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, there aren't many, and
It's
he's
absurd.
better than most of them.
Yeah, it's
so
ridiculous. So
I'll tell you, there's 2 closers you should think of in MLB history. It's Mo and Never Hoffman. After that, shove it. That's it. Who's
That's
Billy
fair.
Wagner? Play that, Connor. Who's Billy Wagner?
Couldn't tell you, man.
There it is. Next. Move on.
Billy Wagner did make my list. So.
Oh.
I told you I also have pitcher bias, but he was one of those guys who he had 2 bad seasons his whole career. So, I mean, in a 15-year career, when you have, closers, at least nowadays, they come in for 3 years and then all of a sudden you're like, where did that guy go? He's terrible.
Craig Kimbrell.
Craig Kimbrell was the best closer in baseball
Kenley Jansen.
for quite a long period of time.
Oh, I know he was. I just next I have another steroid guy. That'd be Gary Sheffield.
Did he juice?
Yeah.
It very strongly suggested that
He himself suggested that he was juicing.
Yeah.
I did some research on this
Um,
earlier today, and he has been talking
Yeah.
about how he used with Barry and like all that kind of stuff.
So I've never voted for Sheffield, or we're not, but I've never had him on my ballot before. And a lot of the sort of, the top guys have been coming off the past few years, so I was able to fit him in this year. Gary Sheffield was really good.
Had the best
Like,
swing in baseball.
393 on base. What?
Had the best
Oh, yeah.
the best stance at the plate in baseball history.
Well, certainly one of them, yeah. But he was just really good. Like, every time I look at his stats, I forget just how good he really was. Over 500 home runs, over 1,600 RBIs, hit 290. Like, just really solid all around baseball player. So he's on my ballot now.
He did not make my ballot, but again, I have no objections to that.
I'll tell you. Now that I knew he did roids, only helps him. He was on my ballot. Mostly for when I first saw Garrett Shelft, I said, "Who the hell let him get on a Hall of Fame ballot?" I thought this guy was just some guy who played with MLB 04 and just loved the freaking back and forth. I was like, "This guy's a chump."
I was playing that. I played that game earlier today.
04?
Yeah, I've
You got
got
PlayStation 2?
Original Xbox.
Respect. Anyways, I was like, this guy's a bum. No. His stats back it up. And now that he juices, put him on the ballot. This guy's the stuff. He's on my ballot.
Austin?
Oh, he was razor thin for me because I only like to put the Reuters in if they are like Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds type players,
That's fair.
So he was razor thin, and I won't lie, it was his stance that did it for me because if you look up like just when people tweet about like who's your favorite batting stance of all time, I mean the comments are just littered with Gary Sheffield. What he did for the sport, at least grabbing attention from all kids in the backyard doing his stance and stuff like that. I think it's kind of it's cool for the sport, and I think he's a big idol for some kids when they were growing up. So
that's my wiffle ball stance. Is the
Gary
Sheffield stance.
That's why I think he gets the nod for me because he's right on the edge for me.
Him and Griffey are the two that I go back and forth between stance wise. Connor, Gary Sheffield, yes or no?
I'm in.
All right.
Dude, backyard baseball in my backyard back in the day. Gary Sheffield
got
stance.
the bat waggle going.
Oh yeah. Rocking dingers. Taking roids.
As who else said it? Was it Pedro who said it on the broadcast this past offseason? They're hitting Ding Dong Johnsons all over the place.
Yep. I love Pedro. My next guy is Jeff Kent. Jeff Kent hit the most home runs by a second baseman in the history of baseball. He's the best offensive second baseman the game has seen since Rogers Hornsby. I think it's a crime that he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Whomst?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, who the hell? I couldn't tell you who Jeff Kent played for.
San Francisco. He was teammates with Bonds.
Jeff Kent is also on my ballot. Career 290 hitter, 377 home runs, 4 Silver Slugger awards, as well as the 2000 MVP. Now, for all the guys who weren't Bonds and Clemens on the list, I did write in some like possible drawbacks behind their candidacy. And for Jeff Kent, I wrote that he doesn't rank particularly high career, like overall, in much of anything.
No, because he was very bad at defense.
Yeah. Well, I was saying, like, I think his highest, like, offensive career ranking, he's 54th all time in RBI.
Oh, yeah. Well, here's the thing. If you're top 100, you were really fucking good.
That's true.
There have been so many people to play Major League Baseball.
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
So if you're top 100, I'm like, okay, yeah, you're really good at this sport. Josh.
Jeff Kent, again, couldn't tell you where he played for, so that's not a great time for him being on my ballot. Did he juice? This could change it all.
No, but he got into a fight with Barry Bonds in the dugout once.
Dead to me. No good. No good. Next. No good.
All right, Austin.
I'm going to say yes, and only yes because of what position he played and at the time he played it. Second base is all positions have kind of transcended now. Everybody can hit for some reason, but at the time, second base was a dookie position, and nobody could do it.
To
Nobody
be
could
fair,
hit.
even in 2020, second base sucks. So
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's still really, but things are changing a bit. Like people in different positions that at least traditionally used to not be able to hit. People, I mean, right fielders used to be the dog of the MLB. Now, I mean, you stick your best hitter at right field and just say, yeah, sit there and camp out. But yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys who's like, he had such a, I don't want to say bad first half of his career, but such an average first half of his career. And then like his back end of his career was just so unreal that Terry went on year after year, home runs wise specifically for a second baseman, that I like him. And you know what? He didn't roid in the 90s. Think about that.
That's
What
true.
hurt him for me?
Connor, Jeff Kent, yay or nay?
No, sir. Don't
All right.
don't know who he is. So let's move on here. You know what I'm saying?
Perfect.
That's not even debatable.
bingo.
You missed one. You missed one earlier.
Oh yeah, I did.
I heard it. I heard it.
okay.
I was trying to rush to the mic, but I tripped.
Last of the for sure guys for me was another guy I've never had on my ballot before, and that's Sammy Sosa. Over 600 home runs. 1998 happened. That was a thing.
That's true.
So yeah, I thought it was about time for me to have Sosa on my ballot because he was another one. I just couldn't squeeze him in again ahead of some of the like clean guys that I knew of the past few years, and he finally made his first appearance for me. Guy was just really good and hit a lot of home runs. 3 times he had 60 home runs, didn't lead the league in any of them. I mean, what is that?
Yeah, I mean Sammy Sosa is not on my ballot personally. No objection from me as well. Like, he's the man.
Yeah.
He's white now.
Bitches do love Sosa. So
Is he really?
Oh, you
Yeah,
haven't
Sammy
seen
Sosa's
Sammy
white.
Sosa's pigmentation therapy?
No shot.
He's
Turned
white.
himself white.
yeah, he
White.
did the Michael Jackson thing.
I'll
What's
send a
wrong?
picture. I'll send a picture to the
man.
hot soap chat.
Well, I mean, much
What
respect
do
to
you
the
mean he's
king.
white?
I'll tell you, Mark. Yeah, I think you know where I'm going with this.
He did roids.
He did,
A
which
lot of
I
them.
like. And I mean, it's an affront to justice that him and Mark McGwire aren't already in the Hall of Fame. I mean, how can you tell? You want to talk about telling the story of baseball? Like you said, how do you tell the story of baseball
yeah.
without the race of '98? Like
Yeah, and that story is what helps Mark McGwire, because otherwise I would say that he's like marginal Hall of Famer at best. But that's
yes,
just,
sure. But he's the story.
I
And
gotcha.
Sosa. Yeah. Like that's both of them. They have to be in the Hall in my mind. So definitely Sammy Sosa. And I'm just gonna keep chatting while I assume this is what it is. We'll open this up. I'm so. Put him in the Hall. Put him in the Hall. Woo.
I just sent our group chat a picture of Sammy Sosa.
That can't be real. That's
It's
not real.
very real.
It's
It's
very real.
incredibly real.
Yeah, he's in.
Dude, I think he lived in like Canada for too long. His skin readjusted.
That's not.
I don't think that's how that works. And also, how
adapted
knows if he
now.
ever lived in Canada.
Dude, North Canada, no sun?
Okay. All right.
Austin,
so-
Sammy Sosa.
Now, this is gonna come as a surprise. No.
Didn't think so.
What's he
Connor.
gonna-
Yes, sir. He's got my vote. You know what I'm saying?
All
Oh my
right.
God.
Not only
Yes.
because he's white now, that has nothing to do with it. It's just the added bonus. The roids, amazing.
Fact.
And yeah.
Connor, what are you eating there?
Oh, my dad, dude, our pumpkin pie from Thanksgiving was gonna get thrown out, so we got to step up for the boys and eat a
True
huge
competitor. Yeah.
Nice. We
That's
made
it.
2 pumpkin pies for Christmas. You still got some in the fridge.
Wow. Now, Connor, I will say it's kind of insulting that you don't have an obscene amount of whipped cream on that pumpkin pie.
That's
Piece.
true.
Don't eat it, man. Don't eat it.
Is it? Can't you get the non-fat for yourself?
No, that's not why. I just don't eat it.
Like low fat. There's got to be some sort of option that you can eat.
No, I can eat it. I just don't need it.
Sure. Okay. My bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Mark, who are your 2 fringe guys? I will say, okay, wait. Well, before we get into that, there are 3 people you haven't mentioned that are on my ballot. I told you this was going to happen.
Yeah, and they're gonna be the fringe guys for me.
Wait, I have one more lock that I don't think either of you have.
Okay.
Maybe Zach does.
Who is it?
Manny Ramirez. Mark said definitely no. Zach?
He's an absolute no for me.
Damn. What? The roids?
See, this is, like I said, this is the question of roids, where like it was multiple times and multiple long form suspensions and like repentant, just like, yeah, I'm a roider, bro. Deal with it. Like, I don't.
That's why I made sure to say earlier that I like, if you get tested positive, come back. Do it again.
See, that's where guys like Manny and guys like A-Rod are where I start to get muddy, honestly.
He was so good though.
So it's a no. It's probably a no for me, dog.
It's a no for me.
Yeah, it's a no for me, dog.
That's fair.
Austin, I'm assuming he's not on yours.
No.
Damn.
I'm in though, Josh. I'm in.
Respect to the roids.
I had 4 fringe guys, and at least one of them has made my ballot. So I'll start off with him. It's Todd Helton.
Todd Helton is on my ballot. Now, if I can make my case for him.
Go right ahead. I love Todd Helton, but
runner-up to Jeff Kent in the 2000 MVP race. Got robbed.
Should have won. Really should have won.
Got robbed in 2000. Because in 2000, Todd Helton led the league in hits, RBI, and all slash lines in 2000. Did not lead the league, or did not win the MVP. Ridiculous.
Okay.
Career 316 hitter, and I don't give a shit about the Coors boost. You know I don't care. Nolan Arenado should have at least 2 MVPs by this point. I do not care. Career 316 hitter, 369 career home runs, 1,400 RBI in Todd Helton's career, 5-time All-Star, 3 times Gold Glover, 4 times Silver Slugger. But my big question is that after that 2000 season, he never had any like league leading seasons in anything again. Like that's something that I look at is like, how many times do you lead the league in certain categories, right? How many league leading seasons do you have? Outside of 2000, Todd Helton has none. Now, obviously, it didn't matter that much for me. He's on my ballot, but something to question a little bit.
I'll say one thing that helped him. I wouldn't put him on my ballot even after the convention. No disrespect, but he's got a killer goatee. So that would help.
Great goatee.
That would help. I'm telling you, I look for the little things in life. That's one of them that, I mean, he got some pointers for that.
Like a killer goatee.
Todd Helton is one of 15 players in baseball history to hit over 310, have an on-base over 410, and slug over 510 for his career.
Bingo. That's it. That's all you need to know.
15 players. I mean, this is a category that includes guys like Babe Ruth, Ted Williams, Stan Musial, just like all-timer of all-timer. His stats are up there with those guys. He's 18th all-time in OPS. I look at one thing I look at in Baseball Reference is similarity score. Like, who were you most similar to over the course of your career? And his top 5 has 4 Hall of Famers. So Todd Helton is just a no doubt Hall of Famer for me.
Where does he rank on Baseball Reference's Hall of Fame?
For first baseman?
Yeah. Like positional Hall of Fame.
He's
monitor.
He's 15th in Jaws and he's 17th in first baseman WAR. So he's up there, but it's not like, once you get into the top 10, those are the guys.
Yeah.
But his peak 7 WAR is 4 points higher than the average Hall of Fame first baseman. Like, he's a Hall of Famer to me.
Yeah, that's something I looked at when I was making my NFL ballot earlier today. Was Pro Football References Hall of Fame monitor. That was just something I was taking a look at, so I was wondering.
He's right around there. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure he was like over because it's 100. I think is the number they use. I think he was at like 110. So
yeah, it depends on the stat and the position. So like for example, like in football, like when I was looking at the football, I was looking at Alan Faneca, who should have well been in the Hall of Fame by this point. But that's a different argument. And
I can tell you right now,
in terms of guards, like offensive guards, the average Hall of Fame metric for them is like 104 or something like that. So it depends on the position.
So his Hall of Fame monitor, a likely Hall of Famer, the number is 100. He's at 175.
Okay. Yeah, I am looking
But
at it.
not even close.
Todd
Yeah.
Helton.
Todd Helton. Yeah.
So you have to if you
Um,
get over 100, that's like good.
Yes.
175.
That's very good.
Yeah, 100 as a likely Hall of Famer.
That's Hall of Fame monitor stat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking in Barry Bonds' is 340, that says something.
Yeah.
Holy
that-
shizer.
Austin, thoughts on Todd Helton?
For me, I don't like putting more than 6 guys on my ballot. I just don't like sending so many people in the Hall of Fame. But hear me out. Todd Helton will probably get my vote in the future. He is he's like a Hall of extremely good, and the only thing that sets it back for me is I don't mean to be disrespectful, but very forgettable. when you talk
Yes.
about baseball history.
Yeah, because he played in Colorado and they were bad for his entire career except 1 year. Like,
Yep.
it's just one of those things. It kind of stinks, but that's just the way it was.
Yeah.
In terms of name recognition too, though, like Todd Helton, well, very good player, just like never considered a superstar in my mind, or even
Yeah.
like elite level player.
Oh, I agree. Like, he's one that I put him in the maybe category because I knew how good Todd Helton was, but I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And then I looked at his stats and I was like, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Todd Helton was a top 15 player in baseball for his entire career, pretty much. So
I'm kind of with Austin's boat. We're like very good, and I wouldn't like badmouth someone for talking good about Todd. I'm like, Todd Hilton sucks. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
that guy. Todd Hilton's great. Sure.
I wouldn't even mind if he got in the Hall of Fame. I just don't know that I would.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. Connor, Todd Helton.
No, sir. Simply because I do not know who he is.
Oh my
Perfect.
gosh.
Thank you for bringing up your reasonable arguments, but that's not how I operate.
I will
So
say also Connor didn't juice. So that's
But he played in a juice stadium.
doesn't matter.
God.
That's true. He did play in the juice.
You got to inject it in your ass for me to like you.
All right. So the next 3 guys, I'm just going to bring up and you guys say if you have them on your ballots or not, because these guys are all so fucking close for me. It's Omar Vizquel, Andrew Jones, and Bobby Abreu.
Okay.
Wait. Start first. Go slow.
Omar Vizquel,
Okay. And then who?
Andrew Jones, and
Okay.
Bobby Abreu.
Bobby Abreu.
Bobby
Look at-
Abreu was another one of those Roy guys, right?
He did roid. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think he was in the Mitchell report.
Bobby Abreu.
So only one of those 3 I have on my ballot.
So that
Omar.
means there's another
Only
one.
one
Omar
of
Vizquel.
those 3 is borderline for me.
Omar.
Omar Vizquel on my ballot, and personally, I think Omar Vizquel was one of the once I started looking at his numbers, was one of the guys I got to put him in there. So sure, his career 272 hitter. He only had 80 home runs in a 24-year career.
He had 2,800 hits though, and he won.
2,800 hits, 400 stolen bases,
Like-
11 Gold Glove awards, 9
Yeah.
straight, 9th all-time in defensive WAR in baseball history.
He's so it's
That's why.
so close between these 3 guys for me that I don't know if I'm going to put any of them on my final ballot or if they're just gonna.
That's why
Josh.
Omar Vizquel is on my ballot.
Any thoughts on those 3?
I like Omar Vizquel. I like saw 9 straight Gold Gloves and 2,900 hits is just obnoxious things to do. He's very close for me, and I kind of give him a nod too because I like players getting in for other reasons than just a lot of home runs, a lot of RBIs type
Mhm.
players. I like the 9 straight Gold Gloves. I think people should be rewarded for things like that. So he's pretty close for me.
I'll say that I'm disappointed in myself. Because I was like, who the hell is Omar Vizquel? That's exactly what I said to myself. I saw him on the list and I was like, this is a dumb list. He played up until 2012.
Yeah.
No clue. Had zero clue who this guy was, which is probably why he wouldn't be on my overall list. Like, obviously, you look at the stats and they tell you he should be in the Hall at some point. But, just out of the pure fact that I didn't know who he was, I can't, in good faith, put him on my ballot. So
That's fair.
I can't really object to Andrew Jones. He seems to me like a guy that's super borderline.
He's so close, dude. Because here's the thing: he's got the 7-year peak WAR, which is better than the average Hall of Fame center fielder. He had the 50 home run seasons. He's got the 9 Gold Gloves, and his career was done when he was 30, and he stuck around for another 6 years and stunk. It's
Yeah.
I can't get that out of my head. I can't get Yankees Andrew Jones or White Sox Andrew Jones out of my head.
Yeah.
It's just I think of him and I'm like, God, he was so good. And like Maddox said he was the best center fielder he'd ever seen, and like all these guys rave about him. And he hit like 210 for the second half of his career.
I mean, really, wow, he's finished. Holy crap! He was in the Rookie of the Year conversation.
When he was like
Finished
12.
MVP. Finished second in MVP voting in 05.
He-
Yeah, he should have stopped. He should have stopped after he left the Braves. He should have
he
stopped.
should if he
Should've
retired. If he retired, he would be a no doubt Hall of Famer for me.
Yeah.
But the fact that he stuck around and stunk up the league for 5 years just really bugs me, and it's really hard for me to give him a vote. And then Bobby Abreu was another guy who, when he was like first being talked about, I was like, Bobby Abreu. I mean, yeah, solid player, but I mean, come on. He had 291. He had a 395 career on base, 400 stolen bases. He had a million doubles. He had 60 WAR over the course of his career. And he's another one of those guys. He's so close to being there for me. Like Omar Vizquel, these three guys are so similar to me in the fact that there's something that makes them stick out, and it's like, holy shit, this guy should be in the Hall of Fame. And the rest of it, I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, screw it. I'm neither of those three guys are going on mine. I just can't do it. They're all so close that I can't pick one of the three.
So the last guy that's on my ballot that hasn't been mentioned yet, and I did it just for the sake of putting a first timer on there.
Is it Torrey Hunter?
It is Torrey Hunter. So
I did a deep dive on him too, but
Torrey Hunter, career 277 hitter, 353 career home runs, 195 steals, 9 Gold Gloves, 2 Silver Sluggers, and I think again similar to the Jeff Kent thing that I brought up, is never led the league in anything, and his highest career ranking for any stat and it's pretty good, 17th in MLB history in center field fielding percentage. So
fielding percentage for outfielders is a dumb stat, though.
Yeah, that's kind of my point, right? Like his overall career numbers don't necessarily stick out like that. You know what I mean?
I love Torrey Hunter. I loved him when he played. I loved the energy he brought to the field. I don't like the fact that the only team he would refuse a trade to his entire career was Boston because the fans were racist.
I mean, talk to Ken about that too. So
what's that?
Talk to Ken Griffey Jr. about that.
Yeah.
Maybe Boston should just not be a racist city. How about that?
Oh, I agree. I'm not blaming him. I'm just like, it kind of stinks that there was zero chance I would ever get to see him play center field at Fenway Park, because I think that would be a blast. But he's one of those guys where it's just, he is the Hall of the very, very, very good to me. He had those years when he was playing center field in Minnesota where it was like, wow, this dude is insane. And just in general, he falls a little short for me.
Cool. Anybody else have Torrey Hunter? Anybody else have anybody that we haven't mentioned yet?
No. In terms of funny to be placed on here, Mark, how do you feel about a pitcher being on the ballot with an over 4 ERA?
Is
they
it
like that?
Is it Barry Zito?
Both him and LaTroy Hawkins, but yeah, mostly Zito. I was looking, I was like, this guy sucks. Like, what the hell are we talking about here? Like, his curveball's like crazy, and he won a Cy Young, but he fucking sucks.
No,
what are we talking about, Mark? What are we talking about here? What is the BWA shoving up my? What are we talking about? What are they doing?
There's criteria to get on the ballot. It's like 10 years in the major leagues of like consistent service time. It's like anyone who reaches those numbers gets on the ballot.
Okay.
So it's just one of those things. It's like, if you're on the ballot, shout out to a long career. You did a good job. No, Barry Zito's not even close to a Hall of Famer. No one would say he is.
And LaTroy Hawkins is even less close to being a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I don't even know who the hell this guy is.
He was a closer. Shout out to LaTroy Hawkins. He was good for a long time.
He didn't win a single thing. I've been clicking these guys' name on Baseball Reference just to kind of go to him, see the quick hits. Nothing. Mm-hmm. He was never an all-star. He was never this, never. He sucks. He's actually, hear me out. He's very good. He's on a Hall of Fame ballot even. He was probably very good.
He was solid for a few years.
Also, I didn't realize. First off, in honorable mention, Dan Heron. I remember that dude. That
love
dude was
Dan Heron.
dude. Where's the old MLB games? And Aramis Ramirez, I forgot who that was. I was like, why does this guy have the highest Hall of Fame monitor thing out of the first ballots? I was like, I don't even know who this loser is. Totally remember him. Cubs third baseman. Oh my God, he was an all-star at age 36. This guy, he's got the stuff.
Aramis Ramirez was really good. He
Yeah.
was another one. I looked at him
He's
and I was
really
like,
good.
this guy was pretty good, but
He kind of had that falling off thing, I guess. I mean, minus, again, 36, still making an all-star game. But after that, he played 3 straight years of sub 250 baseball.
but it wasn't Andrew Jones who it happened at 30.
True.
Aramis
Yeah, he was
Ramirez hit a
37.
normal decline at age 37. Andrew Jones fell off a cliff.
And in props to Ramos Ramirez, he started playing in 98, and in 2015, when he started stinking up the joint and got traded to 3 different teams, he stopped. He called it quits. He stopped playing the game of baseball.
Exactly.
Good on him. Good on you, Aramis, for knowing when to quit.
So we could talk about one of these first ballots will pitch to no hitter. I mean, they're shooting
Mark-
to make it.
Mark Gurley.
No hitter and a perfect game.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably gonna make it.
No,
No, he's
You don't think so?
No.
he's never good, but
as much as I love Mark Burley and the whole 15 straight years of 200 innings and stuff like that, it's all really impressive. His ERA is too high. He might be a Veterans Committee guy someday, like Jack Morris was, where people were like, no, we should put this guy in the Hall of Fame. He will not make it on the writer's ballot. I don't think he'll get 5%.
4-time Gold Glover.
What about AJ
5-time
Burnett?
Dude, I saw Nick
Burnett.
Swisher.
Talk about guys who stunk. AJ Burnett went to the Yankees and had a 7 ERA for 4 years.
You put Nick Swisher on the list. Like when I saw it on here, I was like, did Nunez send us a fake list? I was like, what is this? Is this real? It's like, what are we talking about?
all-time good guy Hall of Famer Nick Swisher. I'll say that.
Nick Swisher
But-
was one of those guys I hated.
Yeah,
I
he
couldn't stand
sucked.
him. I hated Nick Swisher.
I'd put
Yeah. Who else piques your interest on that ballot there, Josh? What?
Oh, we're
Literally
just
no
going.
one.
Yeah, hear me out. I don't know half the other guys. Andy Pettit's an intriguing one to me, I guess, being is that he was a 5-time World Series winner.
You want to talk about
3-time All-Star.
Yeah, he also served a suspension, didn't he?
lots of steroids? That guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He was juicing, but hear me out. I don't shy away from the juice.
We can tell.
I like the juice.
Yeah, the
In
fact
his,
that you're
in
actually
his white Bronco and everything.
You're giving props to juicers is a little obscene.
What do you mean?
It's one thing to say it doesn't matter. It's another thing to say if you did juice, you're higher on my ballot.
Also, in terms of props to Andy Pettit, which again I think this was a juicing year because he got suspended in 2011, but 2010 he was an All-Star. He didn't play in 2011 because I'm pretty sure he was suspended.
No, that was
Then he-
his retirement. He retired.
Oh, and then he came back.
Yeah.
He come back? Wow, he sucks. What a bum. I hate that. Stay dead.
But he did the old Brett Favre.
Ah, Jesus. Should have
Or
stayed.
Michael Jordan.
Brett Favre really shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but Michael Jordan came back and was good one of the times.
Did you I looked up this ballot and I got next year's ballot as just something to look at.
Yeah, we can.
Pretty fun names. Also,
Let's
says-
look ahead to next year's ballot.
Yeah.
I feel disgraced because this says second year on the ballot for this guy, and I don't see him on this ballot. Dan Ugla. This would be his first year on the ballot, it says, because this says next year is his second year. So, I mean, Dan Ugla's a guy, Mark. I mean, come on.
No,
What are you talking about, Mark?
Dan Ugla hit 230 for 15 years. That's
Mark? Come on. 241. OBP. Give me the slugging. Come
David
on.
Ortiz and Mark Teixeira.
Yeah, I
Carl
mean, next year,
Crawford. Friend of the show, Carl Crawford.
friend of the program, Carl Crawford.
Jimmy Rollins is one that's peaks.
Jake PV. Coco Crisp.
Grady
Wait,
Sizemore.
we're getting Coco Crisp and
Justin
Carl Crawford
Morneau?
next year.
Yes.
Prince Fielder.
We get Coco Crisp and Carl Crawford next year.
Tim Lincecum.
Joe Nathan.
Here's a little look ahead.
Ryan
to next year.
Howard.
Here's a little look ahead to next year. Prince Fielder will 100% be on my ballot.
Yeah, I probably
AJ
should.
Pazinski.
This is gonna get so fun because it's players that we actually like
No,
very
much
much
more.
grew up watching. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yes.
mean, we knew about players in the '90s and we watched
Mhm.
highlights and stuff, but like actually early 2000s players making the Hall of Fame is such a cool concept.
Like
Yeah,
Tim
that'll-
Lincecum, Mark, I'd love to hear your arguments for him. 'Cause he was thinking poo poo for a lot,
Yeah.
but also was really great.
He's one of those guys. He's like Johan Santana,
Yep.
which I think Johan Santana should be in the Hall of Fame because his 7 best years are comparable to Sandy Koufax. Like, where Tim Lincecum, he won the 2 Cy Youngs and he was great for like 4 years. It's not quite enough. If he had 2 more years of that, if it was 6 or 7 years, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? Big time Timmy Jim. The freak, I'm going for it.
Excuse
But
me.
you never saw that commercial? That old This Is Sports Center commercial?
Yeah.
I don't
On
think
your
Juan Uribe next year.
Yeah, I see that.
Oh yeah, biggest cock in baseball, Juan Uribe.
Wow.
Oh, come
Do
on.
you not
on.
know? Do you not know these stories? He used to put a catcher's shin guard in his pants.
Jesus.
I mean, is Jonathan Papelbon not on potentially?
No,
Look at
He's
that
on
guy.
my ballot for punching Bryce Harper in the face.
choking.
Good for
Bryce
him.
Harper.
I'm
He
sorry,
should've.
choking Bryce Harper.
What
My
about
bad.
Justin
Good,
Morneau?
dude.
I'm kidding. I
No.
like Bryce Harper.
Yes, I love Justin Morneau.
I
Yeah,
also
put him on
love
there for
but
passion.
I don't think he's Hall of Fame, but he has a 3-year peak season or like time that like he was.
Yeah,
Best
Justin Morneau from 2007 to like 2011, just unreal.
Yeah, Coco Chris to the
2006.
Hall.
Yeah.
Coco, I
Coco
like what Austin said earlier. Would I be justified in voting for no one if Coco Crisp was the best player on the ballot?
So it's looking like according to Baseball Reference's projections for next year, it's looking like it cuts off at Barry Zito, right? Because it's 25 every year, right?
Oh, I see.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
That are actually allowed. That's why Dan Uggla was.
That'll
might-
actually
Yeah.
be on the ballot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's not including who's gonna get. Taken
Right.
out
It's not including
eventually.
if anybody gets.
Well, also
inducted.
4 people are in their 10th, right? That's the last.
Yeah.
Yeah, Schilling.
So Schilling, Clemens, Bonds, and Sosa will be coming off the ballot
Well,
after
no,
next year.
Yeah. They'll be on the
After
ballot
next
next year if they don't make
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, it'd be such an injustice to baseball if Barry Bonds is not in the fucking Hall of Fame. Like, I don't know how you could respect the
That's-
game at
I-
all. Like,
It's absurd.
I guess you could argue Clemens and Schilling somehow, but Barry fucking Bonds? How? How is it possible?
The greatest hitter to not be named Mike Trout in the
Yes.
history of baseball.
Yes. I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, it's such a massive disservice to the sport to not have him in the Hall of Fame. It's ridiculous. Mark Teixeira is also first ballot or first year eligible.
I saw that.
Yeah, no shot he gets in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I don't believe he will.
Jimmy Rollins?
I'll tell you.
Jimmy Rollins has a really interesting case that I could get
Really
into,
good.
but
Good defensive.
You know
Yeah.
who's not getting in, and it's because he took a bullet. David Ortiz.
He took a bullet.
No. He's gonna make it in.
He'll absolutely make it. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised.
I mean,
if
he's
he's
a first ballot.
He's
guy
the first
next year,
ballot.
Yeah,
I don't know if he'll be first ballot
he should.
What?
In my mind, he should.
because of the steroid thing. He's just as linked to steroids as guys like Clemens and Bonds. Like
Yeah,
more
but
so,
again, it's
more
the
so
fact
than
that-
other Mitchell Report guys. Like David Ortiz, like headlines that list. So I don't know if he'll get in first ballot. He'll absolutely get in because David Ortiz might be the most well liked person on the planet.
2 words, Mark. 2 words why he will get in. Boston strong. He's
That's
gonna get
fair. That's fair. He was on the
He'll get
2013
in just because
team.
of the this
yeah.
is
That
our fucking
speech
city
before-
speech.
Yep.
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 Because of the 2013 Red Sox team, he will get
Yeah.
in first ballot. You're right.
He should, and I
mean,
have
I'm in.
no problem with him getting in next year. Absolutely.
He absolutely should. That's the easiest person I'll ever put on my ballot is David
Okay,
Ortiz.
well, I mean, Mariano Rivera was literally on the ballot like 2 years ago, but okay then.
Except Mariano's kind of trash, so.
It's kind of not trash. All right.
I don't know. The guy tore his ACL, shagging fly balls. Get on the mound, Mariano. What are you doing?
Boo.
Play in the outfield. Who does he think he
Boo.
is? Torrey Hunter?
Boo. Anyways, we might do a look ahead, like a more deep dive look ahead at some point after football is done, because we are starved for content on this program.
I could go into why every single player on this ballot should be in the Hall of Fame.
I
That is a
think
bit
we
I
might
would
do like a case for Like, I think we might do a list where each of us comes with like 5 different players who aren't obvious and makes a case for them or something like that. That'd be
Man.
kind of a fun idea.
I could do that. Yeah.
You said we're doing a football one, right? Soon?
Yes, we will do a football one at some point for the 2021 Pro Football Hall of Fame ballot.
Could I tell you something funny about the Football Hall of Fame that I don't want to forget for that show? So I'll just say it now.
Yeah.
Nunez, you'll appreciate this one. I was out golfing the other day with Burb, and a friend of his brought up the fact that Burb was talking about Champ Bailey deserving to be in the Hall a lot, this and that, yada yada yada, and he was like, "You gotta shut up about Champ Bailey." Yes. Not why I brought it up to you, because then this guy goes, "Yeah, and don't get me started with that fucking Brian Urlacher." And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, "Yeah, the fact that guy's in the Hall of Fame pisses me off every day." And I go, "Wait, I'm sorry." I go, "You mean," just to clarify, we're talking about the middle linebacker for the Chicago Bears? And he goes, "Yeah, that guy sucked." And I was like, he goes, "I mean, he didn't suck, but he was just so carried by everyone around him on that defense. He was what? The lead?" I go, "Dude, he was the best player on that defense for a decade. And it was the best defense in football. You're smoking rock." I was like, "What is wrong with you?" I was like, "Is this a bit?" I was like, "Are you like a Lions fan or something?" And he's like, "Nah, I'm a Seahawks fan." I'm like, "What dog do you have in this fight that you hate Brian Urlacher so much?"
I'm looking at the stats right now. Look, I'm looking at it right now.
He's probably one of the top
Defensive
3
Rookie of the
linebackers
Year.
ever.
Defensive Rookie of the Year, 2005 Defensive Player of the Year. Let's see here. First team, all 2000s team from both Pro Football Hall of Fame and Pro Football Reference. The 2000 All Rookie team, obviously first ballot Hall of Famer, 4-time All Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler. Let's see here. Ranks. Fun fact here: ranks 11th in career fumble return yards. Those are some good stats here.
I mean, you don't even need to tell. I'm shocked.
Josh, let me tell you, this Aaron Donald guy.
Top 10.
Yeah.
This Aaron Donald guy is so carried by Jalen Ramsey. It's not even fucking funny.
Top 10 in both solo tackles and tackles for loss in NFL history.
Well, then I was like, he started talking about how he's.
I'm sorry, 6th among inside linebackers on PFR's Hall of Fame monitor.
He started talking down on him as terms of a middle linebacker too, and I was like, name 5 better middle linebackers. He named Ray Lewis and then stopped, and I was like, dude, keep going. If you have so many more, this guy's so bad.
The only person who is okay, we can talk about this after we are done recording.
Yeah. Sorry,
we can talk about this when the recording's over. Okay.
I knew it'd get you.
But anyways, before we go, I'm gonna give my FanDuel main slate lineup of the week for week 13. Be ready to cash it in and win that $1 million because this is the lineup that's going to do it. So for my game stack, I'm going to go with the game that I think is the sneaky bonanza of the week. I think I haven't looked at point totals, but I can't imagine this game is in the top 5. And I think it might be the sneaky high scoring game of the week. And that's the game between the Cleveland Browns and the Tennessee Titans. I'll give you guys a question and a little quick little fact here. Name the one quarterback who's thrown less than 29 pass attempts against the Tennessee Titans this year.
When playing them?
Yes. Yeah.
Someone who hasn't played the Titans who's got the fewest pass attempts against.
Gardner Minshew?
No.
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins is correct. Kirk Cousins is the only quarterback to not throw 29 or more passes against the Titans this season. He threw 27. So I feel like this game, I don't know. I just got that's a feeling that I got, right? But this game might actually be a little bit more high scoring than you think. So my game stack for this game, I'm going to go with Ryan Tannehill.
Ooh.
Ryan Tannehill. We haven't seen a Tannehill blow up game in a while. And you know it's coming in this offense. This offense is starting to hum as of the last couple of weeks. And I'm going to stack that man with his best receiver. The man who is just minutely less of a tank than Derrick Henry. That's A.J. Brown. I'm going with the Tannehill, A.J. Brown stack. We're going to bring it back with Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry in their first actual game since Odell got injured that wasn't, 10 degrees and 40-mile-an-hour winds. He had 11 targets, 8 receptions for 143 yards and a touchdown against the Jags defense. Guess what? The Titans defense is also stinky. So if Baker Mayfield's going to have to throw, and I assume he will, a lot of those targets are going to be going to Jarvis Landry. Expect Jarvis Landry to have a big game this week. My secondary stack, and I'm not feeling good about it after watching last night's game, is coming from the Green Bay Philadelphia contest. I'm going to go with, at tight end, I'm going to go with Robert Tonyan, who has been coming on as of late a little bit, at least 4 targets in each of his last 3 games. Look, tight end sucks. All right. If you catch a touchdown, you're a top 5 tight end. It's really that simple. And maybe he does catch a touchdown. He's caught a touchdown in each of the last 2 games. And otherwise, I'm going to go with a guy who has had at least 5 targets in each of his last 4 games. It doesn't really mean much of anything because this offense sucks, but it's Jalen Reagor. And maybe he catches a ball. I don't know. He caught 3 passes for 11 yards last night. So it's really a crapshoot. That's basically my punt play of the week. He's the cheapest player on my roster. My 3 running backs, went with 3 running backs this time around. I went with Dalvin Cook. You got to find a way to get Dalvin Cook in your lineup, especially in tournaments, because he's going to be a bit of a contrarian play due to the fact that he's 10-5 this week. Pretty hiked up price for a running back. They get to play Jacksonville, who sucks. So go Dalvin Cook. He can hit that ceiling that he has this week. And if your ceiling as a running back is 35 to 40 points, I want to find a way to get you into my FanDuel lineup every single week. My second running back is a guy who showed some promise against a stinky Green Bay run defense this past Sunday, and that's David Montgomery at 11 carries for 103 yards and also caught 5 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown. Guess who they get to play this week? The stinky Detroit Lions. So, they suck. That's about that. And then my flex, I'm going to go with a guy who might have turned the corner. This past week. In the first half of their game against the 49ers, Darrell Henderson carried the ball like 10 times and averaged 1.5 yards per carry. So they turned it over to rookie Cam Akers, who had 9 carries for 84 yards and a touchdown in the second half. Maybe this is them turning the corner. They get the 25th ranked rush defense of the Arizona Cardinals. I like Cam Akers at the price that he's at this week, and maybe Sean McVay is going to give him some more looks this time around. And then finally, to fit it in, go with the Minnesota Vikings defense against the stinky Jacksonville Jaguars, with Mr. Longneck probably starting another week for them. Mike Lennon sucks. That's it. I don't care how well he played. I don't care how well he played against Cleveland last week.
He's
Mike
just
Lennon,
mad the Bears paid him.
What?
the Bears paid him way too much and then started him for 3 games after they drafted the guy 2nd overall. I'll never forgive him for that. Mike Lennon sucks. And the Vikings defense might be able to get a few turnovers off him. So I like that. That's my main slate lineup of the week. And that does it for episode 11 of the Hot Stove podcast. So a couple housekeeping things again before we go. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at HotStoveWMIO. Make sure to smash the like button. Smash the subscribe button. Smash the bell as well to get notified when we drop new heat. Make sure to leave a comment if you're feeling like commenting. And make sure to check back soon for more awesome content. We're going to have our NFL Hall of Fame ballot episode coming at you soon. This probably be the next non-weekly show episode that we do. So we'll come back with that, and we will come back next week to talk week 13 of the NFL season and whatever else happens in the next week in sports. For all of my co-hosts, I'm Zach Nunez. Thank you for watching another episode of the Hot Stove podcast. We will see you next time.
Peace.